Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3674. Today's date is wait. Okay. Today's date is the 29th of October 2025. It's been almost like morning at 9:01 a.m. Alright, should we jump into the question? Let's go. Okay. Now, question is, what if social media amplifies empathy instead of division? Oh, that is a really good question. That's a really good question. Okay, first of all, what is actually this question and why am I asking this question to myself? This is what if question. Why am I asking this question? What if question is always really interested way to give the answer. It kind of like force you to think about that reality, create that reality regarding about the question that you ask. That reality is actually based on the knowledge that you have. So indirectly, this kind of like a question is kind of like somebody try to force you think about the knowledge that you have and kind of like somebody reconstruct this knowledge inside your head and try to create that reality, right? Probably I don't know how I'm supposed to explain this thing, but yeah, you actually experience that thing too. Disclaimer, okay, the information that I'm trying to tell you is not exactly right or is not exactly wrong either. It is just my opinion. When I try to talk about such thing, when I try to talk about my knowledge and stuff like that, it's not exactly right. Obviously there is a flaw, there is a kind of like assembly that I am not really upgraded with this version, or maybe it's like that I am not really matured enough to understand this thing. But there is no wrong, there is no one will gonna stop me to me giving my opinion. So I'm just giving my opinion. Okay, yeah. So might be it's maybe wrong or maybe right too, but it's just my raw opinion. It's raw, it's unfiltered. Okay. So be advised. Okay. If you need any kind of like some information, go to the internet, go to the other platform, or yeah, you will get the right information. I'm just giving here my opinion. Right? Okay, yeah. Now let's proceed. Now the question is that what if the social media amplified empathy instead of division? What exactly is this question? Well, have you ever seen social media? Okay, yeah. The social media is a kind of like somebody very much like in today's world, social media is bitterly toxic. Okay, yeah. Is my social media is very much toxic? No, I don't really think that my social media is very much toxic. No. Why? Because I usually consume such a piece of content that kind of like a something add value in my life or add value in my thought process. Like I usually watch content from Nitish Rajput, Dhruv Rathi, then there are Get Set Fly, okay, Abhinayu, lot of kind of like a something the things school. These are kind of like a some channels that I kind of like a subscribe. Okay, and these are piece of content that kind of like a somebody add knowledge inside of my head. Okay, another thing, I am not consume any form of short form content or vertical video content. Okay, I didn't really have Instagram. I only consume YouTube content. Okay, I access Instagram through Chrome browser. Why I didn't really have Instagram app? Because of that, Instagram app is a kind of like a simply not good for me. Okay, yeah. Accessing same Instagram from Chrome browser, it's kind of like a prevent me to not to use that much Instagram. Okay, by the way, in Chrome browser, you won't be able to see the Instagram reel. Yeah, you can see the Instagram reel. It's not really that you can't see, but probably the experience is not really that smooth. Okay, yeah, so probably you're gonna watch maybe 2 or 3 reels, then after that you can't be able to scroll because the Chrome cannot handle that particular, yeah, at least like my phone cannot handle, maybe your phone can, but it's like that now it kind of like prevent me to not to use Instagram. And it's been almost like maybe 2 3 year I'm not actually using Instagram. By the way, I'm actually uploading content on Instagram platform too. Okay, yeah, not through app, by kind of like a Meta Studio. Okay, yeah, all right, whatever. So basically is this thing, my content consumption from social media is very much good. Like basically the YouTube specifically, I kind of like spend a lot of times on YouTube. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna talk about the YouTube first. Okay, yeah. So in YouTube platform, YouTube is kind of like a recommend me such a video that I love to watch. Okay, like filmmaking video, then kind of like some new mobile technology videos. Like suddenly there, like recently there is a new mobile launch, Vivo X300 Pro. Okay, I was kind of like watching those videos. I was kind of like blown out by the technology, that what kind of like some camera that it could do. Really good, really great. Okay, yeah. Also, I watch kind of like a bunch of science videos too. Get Set Fly is a really amazing channel. Okay, yeah. I watch most of the channel, Dhruv Rathi, Nitish Rajput. These are kind of like some videos I watch. It kind of like add value in my knowledge, which is kind of like really good. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki exposure from content, exposure from social media is really good. Like basically, I don't really see any kind of like a toxic video and things like that. Okay, yeah. Another question is that ki why you are kind of like seeing this post, like why does other post, like why the other people is kind of like seeing something like a really horrible post. Like basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, when people are kind of like simply like, I don't know, okay, yeah, but maybe when you open your Instagram or when you open your any kind of like a social media platform, they are kind of like somebody showing not good content, like screaming, yelling at each other, kind of like somebody creating anger, or maybe kind of like a scared or things like that. Oh yeah, why these things actually happen? Why that you are kind of like seeing this much about this? Why you are kind of like somebody? Why you are kind of like getting this content? For all those purpose, like let me give you kind of like somebody in brief history, okay, regarding about why social media is kind of like somebody seeing that much content, and why, okay, why are you getting that much toxic content in your social media feed. Okay, yeah. So let me give you the context. Okay, yeah, in kind of like a reality point of perspective, from history point of perspective. Okay, yeah. So almost like thousands of years ago, we are kind of like hunter gatherers. Okay, yeah. And we are always kind of like simply hunting for food. Okay, yeah. By the way, we are humans, so there is a couple of limitation that we have. We can't run faster, we can't fly on sky, we don't really have fur so that we would supposed to be survive in winter. Okay, yeah. Regarding about our physical appearance, we are very much vulnerable to regard to kind of like somebody live in this wilderness area, in this wilderness jungle. Okay, yeah. So it's very difficult to kind of like survive. But the only thing we actually survive is because of kind of like a combination of the people. Like basically 10-20 people are actually gathered. So basically they ensure the safety as well as kind of like food and things like that. Okay, yeah. So since then human are kind of like somebody meant to survive, like meant to kind of like live together. Okay. Now regarding about that, okay, because of we can't fly, because of we can't run that faster, because of we are very vulnerable regarding about the wilderness attack and things like that. So our brain is kind of like adopt something. Okay, fight or flight response. Okay, what exactly is this thing? A fight means like that you just kind of like fight with that problem that you have. Let's just say you have kind of like a tiger in front of you. Obviously you are very much vulnerable in front of tiger, because tiger has a really good claws, he can run faster, he could, like basically is this thing, let's just say 10 out of 10 star to the tiger, 10 out of 2 star to me regarding about how much I survive. Okay, so basically I am very much vulnerable, right? Yeah. So in that particular position you have two choices. First is fight, another is flight. Okay, yeah. In this particular situation you just kind of like somebody fight with this particular, because you cannot run, because obviously your speed is kind of like a very less than tiger, and unfortunately tiger will gonna kill you from the back. Okay, yeah. So you just have to be fight with that particular, and in this particular thing you cannot able to fight because your power, your effort, or your kind of like a strength is not matched with the tiger, because tiger has a very much big strength. So your survival of chances is almost like a less than 2%. Yeah. Now there is also another thing. Let's just say that you actually seen the tiger didn't really seen you, but you actually seen the tiger. So what kind of like a choices that you have? Would you kind of like choose to fight with that tiger? No, you chose to be kind of like a flight, you chose to be kind of like a run away from the tiger. Okay, because it's a life and death situation, and you just kind of like save your life and things like that. Okay, yeah. So basically that's why our brain is kind of like adapt that way, that our brain is kind of like a simply fight and flight response. Like basically, have you ever kind of like experience, okay, yeah, that key suddenly something happened and you just pump of energy comes from you. Okay, yeah. I don't know why. Okay, let me give you the context. Okay, yeah. Let's just say that you are kind of like driving a truck. Okay, yeah. Or maybe you are driving a car. Okay, yeah. You are driving a car and suddenly you realize that brake fail. Yeah, like basically you are kind of like driving for almost like a 3 hour, okay, kind of like a very boring drive, and suddenly you realize that your brake fail. Your entire body is kind of like shattered. Okay, yeah, because in this particular moment you have to be survive yourself, because your car is actually going almost like 80 kilometer per hour. Okay, yeah, you are on freeway or you are on highway, and probably you have to be save yourself because there is no brake at all. So you are actually using all the necessary factors so that you should supposed to be stop that particular car by kind of like assembly, lowering down the speed, or maybe kind of like changing the gear or something like that, or whatever you are doing. Okay, yeah. Or maybe even if there is nothing really at all, so you might gonna crash at somewhere. Maybe you might gonna crash your car at somewhere so that you might gonna survive, or else you can kind of like somebody put the kind of like something the seat belt so that you might gonna survive and things like that. Now this is all those things happen so rapidly that you just can't even imagine. Now if you kind of like experience this thing, this kind of like impulsive amount of energy inside of you, you realize that is called flight and fight response. And you also kind of like somebody experience that thing. Okay, yeah. When there is a kind of like some certain situation that you are in particular danger, your body automatically have some sort of energy that kind of like try to save your body. This is called kind of like a fight and flight response. Okay, yeah. Now this is the topic you understand. Okay, yeah, you actually experience this thing, fight and fight, like everyone actually experience this thing. Like when you are in particular danger, your body is a kind of like somebody that just prepared for that kind of like somebody situation. Okay, have you ever understand? Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing. Our body is kind of like a something drag attention towards danger, right? Like basically when we see the danger, our body alert, not just our attention alert, entire body alert. And because of our entire body alert, we kind of like tends to do action. Okay, yeah. And because of this mentality, we are kind of like we survive. Oh boy, sorry. Because of this mentality, we are kind of like we survive. Okay, yeah. Now in this modern world, we are like we don't really have like there is no kind of like a wild animal who's kind of like chasing us. No, nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. There is nothing really at all. There is nothing kind of like a dangerous situation actually happened. But still we have that particular thought process that our body is kind of like a something take action when we see the danger. Okay, yeah. Now this is the one part. Okay, you have to understand first thing is that our body is act when we see the danger. Okay, get it? Okay, and you have to understand this concept first. Okay, yeah. Now let's talk about the social media. Okay, yeah. Now social media that we are kind of like using today are kind of like a very much different. I am also a content creator too. Okay, yeah. So I make a content too. Okay, yeah. Now because of there is a kind of like a billions of piece of content is actually available in social media platform. Okay, yeah. How is your content is kind of like a standout? Like there is kind of like some billions of content. How is your content is actually stand out? Okay, what kind of like what should you supposed to do to kind of like stand out your content? Okay, yeah. You are kind of like a something start your video. Let's just say I am making a video. Okay, yeah. Let's just say I am making a video regarding about that. Let's just say that Indus Valley civilization. Okay, yeah. So basically Indus Valley civilization is a kind of like something historic. Okay, yeah. Now basically is this thing. I'm gonna ask this question to myself. Okay, yeah. Who is gonna watch that video? Indus Valley civilization. Who is gonna watch that video? Well, probably such a people who are kind of like simply enthusiastic regarding about history, or they kind of like simply try to know about the history, or such a people who are student, they are kind of like simply have particular chapter in the history book. So only those people would gonna watch your video regarding about Indus Valley civilization. Right? Yeah. Okay. Now there is also another video. Another video is about that kind of like somebody telling that ki like basically is this thing that ki the Nazis kind of like killed almost like a 2 million Jews, or maybe kind of like somebody 2 million kind of like a people who are Jewish or things like that. Okay, yeah. Now this is kind of like some video. This is both the video are kind of like historic video. Okay, Indus Valley video, or there is also another video is that the Nazi people killed almost like thousands of people. Okay, yeah. Now these are kind of like some two video. Okay, yeah. In the first video, Indus Valley civilization, only kind of like a people who are enthusiastic, those people will gonna watch that video. But a Nazi killed thousands of people, who will gonna watch that video? Almost kind of like every person. Why? Because of that this kind of like a similar video is kind of like a tell us a kind of like a danger that we are living, or maybe kind of like a somebody is this thing that like a Nazi is a kind of like a very like it's actually history. Okay, let's just say there is a video regarding about that you actually die tomorrow because of air pollution. Okay, this kind of like a similar video. So you are tend to be kind of like a watch this video, air pollution video. Okay, why? Because of that it kind of like a creates a danger. Okay, yeah, in the title it says that tomorrow you will gonna die. So die is a kind of like a danger thing, and tomorrow, that means tomorrow, it creates a danger inside our head. Okay, yeah, and we are kind of like a realizing, we are kind of like a create the curiosity that tomorrow I will gonna die. Why? Okay, yeah, so I click that video. So because of our body is kind of like a something lean towards kind of like a some danger, because of that it kind of like a meant to survive in kind of like a some thousands of years ago. So that's why most of the creator and most of the kind of like content are kind of like a somebody using this thought process, this danger thought process, like you are in danger. Okay, yeah. So because of you are in danger, so that's why most of you wanna click that video and watch that video. Now what exactly is this video? Like basically if I make this particular video, if I make the kind of like a something you will gonna die tomorrow because of air pollution, is this kind of like a wrong video? Is this kind of like a wrong thing? No, it's not wrong thing. Okay, like basically is this thing you kind of like a grab the attention of the people. Okay, yeah. But there is a difference. Okay, yeah. You have to let them scared. Okay, you have to let them scared. That basically let them hook. Okay, yeah. Like basically most of people actually hook means like that, let them kind of like somebody engage. Okay, that engagement is actually happened, that you have to be kind of like a convince your people that you are in really deep danger. Okay, really deep shit danger, and you need to kind of like somebody do all those things. So you have almost like a 30-second of time span. Okay, yeah. In that particular 30-second you have to be let your audience scared. Okay, yeah. Because like basically if you don't really kind of like make that scary thing, people might not gonna watch, and people will gonna lose the video. Okay, so it is really essential for creator that kind of like only make sure that they are in really danger. Okay, yeah. And the starting of the video is kind of like showing that you are in really much danger. They are kind of like showing this and that and that and that and that. Okay, yeah. And you click that video and you are kind of like see this thing, oh, like this is air pollution is kind of like really fucked up and things and that and that and that. And then after that you watch the video. Okay, yeah. Now I'm gonna ask the question, is air pollution actually exist? Yes. Is air pollution you will gonna die tomorrow? No. Then why are you watching this video? Is because of kind of like something that it creates a danger, na? It kind of like actually the question is actually arise regarding about surviving myself. The title says I'm gonna die tomorrow, so I have to be watch this video, na? I have to be watch this video. It kind of like somebody create scare inside of me, right? A danger is very much essential, and this is the point that most of the content creator and most of the social media user are kind of like using this technique. Creates a danger. Okay, yeah, creates a kind of like a things that key, like a kind of like a somebody just we are in danger because of this, because of that, because of politics, because of air pollution, because of kind of like a somebody uncivilized people, because of this, because of that. Okay, yeah, and because of this thing, your social media has become more toxic. Okay, yeah, and there is a multiple variation regarding about that. Okay, yeah. Now because of danger comes from very different thing. Okay, yeah. First, danger comes from the topics like air pollution things, and that danger comes from the controversy too. Okay, yeah, like basically when the two party are kind of like a fighting with each other and things like that, it creates controversy, and controversy is kind of like engaging. Okay, yeah. So it does not create the danger, but it kind of like somebody having attention, right? Yeah. There is also another emotions, okay, called horny. Okay, yeah. If you're kind of like creating content regarding about exploring the horny, like horny means nudity and things like that, it will also work, because the nudity is a kind of like something that we are drive towards. It's a natural kind of like a things. Okay, yeah. Like basically our body is kind of like drive towards kind of like somebody nudity and things like that, which is also kind of like something work too. That's why kind of like most of the kind of like somebody the only fan model getting a lot of engagement, because of yeah, the we are kind of like some sex people, we are kind of like some sex animal, and yeah, we could kind of like somebody watch those video to kind of like elaborate our kind of like emotions and things like that. Okay, so that's why most of your content are kind of like bitterly toxic, bitterly danger, bitterly controversial, bitterly nudity, and bitterly that. Okay, yeah. So this is all those things. So that's why you are kind of like somebody social media is kind of like somebody telling lot of kind of like something that key create a kind of like some division. Okay, yeah. Like there is lot of videos by the way. If I'm gonna say danger means like that lot of kind of like some video are kind of like some danger. Okay, yeah. Danger, division, yeah, it's these are kind of like some negative like affirmation are kind of like somebody attached towards the danger and stuff like that. They are kind of like using this technique for kind of like somebody making the piece of content and stuff like that. All right, yeah. Now, okay, how is this thing actually happen? Okay, why? When you open your Instagram or when you open your kind of like a YouTube platform, you kind of like seeing this piece of content. What should I supposed to do? What should I kind of like somebody that key I don't want that piece of content. Okay, yeah. Because let me tell you one thing. Yes, air pollution exists. Yes, these are actually exist. Yes, danger are actually exist. Okay, yeah. But let me tell you, the world is very much beautiful people. It filled with wrong people. It filled with right people too. Yeah, I'm not saying that air pollution is not exist. It is exist. Okay, yeah. But probably what I'm trying to tell you is this thing. It creates a kind of like somebody that key scarcity inside of you. It creates stress inside of you, and that stress is kind of like something that key it affect you at something somewhere. That creates kind of like a little bit toxic inside of you. Okay, get it? You understand this point? Okay. Now, how do I supposed to fix that thing? How do I supposed to solve that thing? How do I supposed to? There are multiple settings in the social media platform. Okay, yeah. Kind of like somebody block the sensitive content or things or that. There is a lot of kind of like option. You just have to click it. Okay, yeah. But still, is this thing that key? But like, okay, I'm gonna ask one question. Yeah. If you actually saying this thing that key, we are drive towards danger. Okay, yeah. Like basically, if there is a kind of like a danger, we are drive towards that. Okay, yes. So in the social media platform, you actually mentioned that there is a Indus Valley civilization videos are actually exist. Like there are some videos that actually exist. Those are kind of like somebody contribute something really good stuff. Okay, yeah. So why am I not seeing those content? Why am I not seeing that world is really beautiful? As I mentioned, okay, yeah, we are drive towards danger. So basically, 10 out of 8 people will gonna click to the danger. 10 out of 2 people might gonna click to the kind of like a beautiful world. Okay, yeah. Now basically what is actually happened that 10 out of 8 people are click the danger. That's why YouTube algorithm realize that this is the kind of like a video 10 out of 8 people like it, so maybe this video is really good, so recommend that video to the more and more. So that's why you are actually seeing that more and more danger and toxic kind of like some social media content. Okay, yeah. I am not seeing those content is because of that I am 10 towards that 2 kind of like people, 10 out of 2. Like basically is this thing that key I watch so much amount of content on social media platforms, specifically on YouTube. Okay, yeah. And basically I watch kind of like some documentary videos and this video and that video. So that's why YouTube knows me what kind of like some content do I like. So YouTube does not recommend me those danger kind of like some things. It's not danger, they are not kind of like a recommend me that you are in kind of like a deep shit danger and things like that. It kind of like a recommend me such a video that kind of like I could improve my knowledge and things and that. Okay, yeah. But why you are kind of like seeing this piece of content and other people not seeing this piece of content? Why? It depends upon how much you use. Okay, yeah. Like let me tell you one thing. When you open your Instagram or when you open your social media platform, it kind of like is showing this piece of content because of that 10 out of 8 people like those toxic content. Okay, yeah. Now Instagram doesn't really know you. Okay, so that's why they are kind of like showing such a content that kind of like somebody you might gonna like because of that this piece of content are 10 out of 8 people like. So Instagram think that you also might gonna like it. Okay, yeah. But what you have to do is that use your Instagram, use or kind of like follow such a people who are kind of like somebody celebrate the life and kind of like a beautiful life and things and that. Okay, those people are actually exist too. Those people are kind of like somebody exist to follow those people. Then kind of like a YouTube or Instagram will understand that okay, you kind of like this piece of content, so probably it kind of like a recommend to the kind of like somebody beautiful world content. Okay, yeah, like there is a beautiful planet is actually exist and there are really good people who are kind of like creating this content or they're showing this creativity and things like that. They are kind of like recommend this piece of content to the people, to you. Okay, yeah. So basically Instagram or YouTube has to be know what kind of like a person you are. It's regarding about how much do you use. Okay, yeah. Like how much do you use your Instagram, it kind of like a knows you and it kind of like a something. Okay, yeah. Now I'm gonna tell you a kind of like a some particular thing. Okay, yeah. I think that like the question is that what if the social media kind of like a simply the social media kind of like a simply amplified empathy instead of division. Okay, yeah. Can this thing possible? Okay, yeah. Because the division and these are kind of like some emotions are happen inside our head. It's kind of like something that we are born with it. Okay, yeah. And directly or indirectly we drive towards the danger. Okay, and that is true, by the way. Okay, like basically if you're driving a car and suddenly there is accident happen, for the genuine reason you might gonna stop and you will gonna kind of like somebody figure it out why happened, why this accident happened and things and that, because we are drive towards the danger. Okay, and which is kind of like a very much common. Okay, you and me, everyone actually think that it's not really that. Okay, yeah. But there is a one way that a social media can be show empathy more than kind of like something the toxic or more than kind of like a division or things like that. How does actually happen? Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna talk about kind of like somebody in here social media algorithm. Okay, yeah. So let's just kind of like talk about social media algorithm, how the social media algorithm works and how those actually things actually work. Okay, yeah. Now regarding about the previously I actually explained that 10 out of 8 people like this kind of like a danger content is because of that a human body is kind of like a lean towards danger. Okay, yeah, lean towards kind of like a things and stuff like that's why kind of like a 10 out of 8 people like it. So that's why algorithm thinks that he might be 10 out of 8 people likes it, so that's why other people also like it to it kind of like a recommend to the more and more people. Okay, yeah. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing, we need a kind of like a system, that kind of like qualify which content is good and which content is not good. Okay, yeah. Now algorithm can't decide that. Okay, let's just say you went to American Idol or you went to Indian Idol or you went to kind of like any singing competition. Any competition is kind of like a judge by how much quality that you have or how much quality that you have regarding about that particular skills. Let's just say you are singing competition, so your quality is actually kind of like a determined by how good you are sing or how variety of sing, how variety of accent, of how variety, like you kind of like your judgment, like you actually judge by singing, right? Yeah. In our social media platform, there is no judge. There is no one actually judging your video. There is no one actually judging your video. There is no kind of like somebody judging who is kind of like judging which kind of like a video is good, which kind of like a video is not good. Okay, yeah. Who is actually judging your video? No one is actually judging the video. But there is a way that we should supposed to be kind of like somebody judge the every single video. How? Okay, yeah. But dude, there is a like we have actually judgmental system. Like we have kind of like a likes and we have dislike too. We actually kind of like if I didn't like the video, I would kind of put the comment, or I would kind of like dislike the video. Okay, yeah. Ask this question honestly to yourself. When did you last time put the dislike button? Instagram doesn't really have dislike button. In YouTube have dislike button. Yes, YouTube have dislike button. But when did you last time you put the dislike button? We are humans and we are a kind of like a person that ki if we didn't really like that particular piece of content, we ignore that particular content. Okay, yeah. Instead of watching that, instead of kind of like putting the dislike and kind of like a negative thoughts, like there are kind of like a couple of people who are kind of like dislike and kind of like a negative, sharing the negativity and things and that whatever. Okay, yeah. But those are creates kind of like something really not good too, because when you put the negative content, that means like basically it kind of like a drive morale down to the creator and things like that. Because yeah, obviously the creator who are kind of like a making video on social media platform, those are not really expert. They learn from their mistake and they are kind of like a yeah. So what exactly is this thing? Okay, yeah. I'm kind of like a thinking about a kind of like some particular system. Okay, yeah, that kind of like a judge the video. Okay, yeah. How it judge the video. Okay, yes. I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing, but I like basically it actually only applicable for kind of like a short form of video. Long form of video, no. Long form of video is really good. Okay, yeah. The way that I'm talking about specifically on YouTube platform. I'm not really sure about the Instagram because I haven't really watched that much Instagram. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna talk about only YouTube point of perspective. Okay, yeah. In YouTube, long form of video are can really good. Okay, yeah. Like basically the people who are kind of like really wanted to watch a video, they can watch the video and they could watch the entire video and stuff like that. Alright. But short form of video is kind of like really not good, because short form of video is kind of like a somebody spread 10 times more than long form of video. Okay, yeah. Now, and this is kind of like a system for only short form of video. Why? Because short form of video are kind of like a somebody always kind of like a creating kind of like a somebody danger situation. Okay, yeah. Like basically if I'm gonna say the social media is a bit more toxic, so almost like 80% is responsible for vertical video, short form of video, reel format video. Okay, 80%. 20% might be kind of like a somebody long form video, but 80% are people are actually kind of like consume social media through vertical video. Okay, now what is actually our system? What is actually I'm trying to tell you? Okay, I don't know is it actually happen or not, but couple of days ago I was kind of like somebody using this Tinder. Okay, yeah. Okay, like basically one of my friend actually suggests that let's use a Tinder and things like that. So I installed the Tinder and stuff and like that. Okay, now in Tinder there is a kind of like somebody really good technique. Okay, yeah. If you didn't really like any kind of like a profile, you would just kind of like somebody swipe left. If you like the profile, you're gonna swipe right. Okay, yeah. So what if we are kind of like using this mechanism to in short form video? Like basically is this thing. Today we have button. We just click the button and we could kind of like press the like or things like that. We could dislike the button that we don't really like it or not. But this is kind of like somebody create a kind of like a somebody effort to do that thing. Okay, yeah. If we like the video, we just have to move the finger and do it, and it's not really good to do that thing. There is no fun way to kind of like somebody like and dislike. It's like pressing the button. Okay, yeah. But when you swipe left and swipe right, it's kind of like add fun. Okay, it's actually add fun. So what exactly is this thing? If our short form of content is kind of like somebody have this mechanism that if you like the video, you kind of like a swipe right. If you didn't really like the video, swipe left. Okay, yeah. So because of this mechanism, people will kind of like somebody do this thing. People will kind of like provide a lot of feedback regarding about like and dislike. Because of this thing, it kind of like somebody filtered it out which kind of like content is right and which kind of like content is not right. Okay, yeah. So basically if we have this particular mechanism, then probably what exactly is this thing that we would kind of figure it out that how much this piece of content is good or not good. Okay, yeah. and we will gonna get lot of kind of like simply feedback. Like basically algorithm get lot of feedback regarding about which short form video is really good or not good. Okay, yeah. And when this thing actually happened, which kind of like simply create a really good, like in this particular, when you use this mechanism, we might kind of like simply create empathy. Like basically social media will not that much toxic. But how this kind of like a simple mechanism will kind of like a change the kind of like assembly the change the kind of like assembly algorithm, change the kind of like empathy? How does it actually happen? Yeah, like basically in YouTube platform there is a like button, there is a dislike button too, which is actually available in today. Okay, yeah. So how this kind of like a swiping mechanism will gonna kind of like assembly done very differently. Okay, yeah. First of all is that the swiping left and right is kind of like a something really fun way to do that thing. Okay, yeah. If you like the video, swipe left. Sorry, if you like the video, swipe right. If you didn't like the video, swipe left. Okay, yeah. Instead of pressing the button, this is kind of like a really good. So basically is this thing in today's world, like basically when I watch any kind of like a short form video on YouTube platform, okay, I never really press any like button, or I never really press any dislike button too, because of it really required me to put the effort to like the video. Even if I like the video, I didn't really put the like the video, because of that key it really required me to put effort to like the video, like go my finger and put this button. And if I didn't like the video, dislike button, like I'm not really sure when did I kind of like a dislike my video, dislike any kind of like video, nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. But it just like that, it really required effort to do that thing. Okay, yeah. And basically it's kind of like a thing in short form of video, I just kind of like simply swipe up to kind of like a next, swipe up to next, swipe up to next. Okay, yeah. It's like if I didn't really kind of like if I didn't really like the video, I just kind of like a next to video, like skip the video. Okay, yeah. But if I have this kind of like a swipe feature, like a Tinder feature, it would kind of like a really good. Okay, so it will get kind of like a lot of feedback, like an algorithm get a lot of feedback regarding about which piece of content is really good and which piece of content is really not good. Okay, yeah. Now there is also another problem is actually arise. Okay, yeah. Problem, what kind of like a problem? Okay, okay. So some of the kind of like a piece of content are creating toxic. Okay, creating toxic videos and things and that. Okay, yeah. When we watch that particular video, we already realize that okay, this is not good video. Okay, yeah. This is kind of like a made up or things or that. Okay, yeah. We understand that video and we realize that okay, this is not really good video, but we didn't really dislike. Mostly, almost like averagely, maybe 100 out of maybe 30% might gonna dislike, but 70% just skip the video. 70% of the people just skip the video and things like that. Okay, yeah. Now what if we could kind of like utilize this swipe feature and things like that? We would kind of like simply rely on decision. Like when we watch the video, we have to decide, no, this video is not really good. So let's just say, let's take an example, simple example. Okay, yeah. You are kind of like watching YouTube short. Suddenly there is a video pop up regarding about a girl who's kind of like showing nudity. Okay, she is not kind of like showing her like a full nudity, no, she is kind of like simply wearing bikini, she is kind of like dancing, and the way that she kind of like dance like a little bit sexy and things like that. Okay, yeah. Now because of, yes, I watched the entire video is because of it's kind of like a nudity, it's kind of like a things that I kind of like a lean towards the sexual drive, because we are humans and we are lean towards the sexual drive, which is very common. Okay, yeah. But when I watched the entire video, I realized that this is not good. Okay, yeah. It is I watched the video, I kind of like somewhat something like I admire her beauty, which is really good, really sexy and things like that. But still, I didn't really like it's not that thing. Okay, yeah. I don't really think that I should supposed to be kind of like this video. So I would gonna swipe left. To the video. Okay, yeah. So if I do that, okay, yeah, I would kind of like judge that particular video. That video is good, yes, but still the content execution, like basically the nudity shouldn't supposed to be expressed that much. Okay, so I would kind of like dislike that video. Okay, yeah. Now because of me, I did that thing. Almost like millions of people will do that thing too. Okay, maybe some people like that video, but let's just say most of people will dislike the video. Okay, yeah. Now because of dislike the video, I'm not putting any kind of like a negative comment, but it kind of like will dislike the video. So basically the girl who actually make that video will kind of like simply de-encourage that. Like when she see like there are almost like 100 out of almost like 90% of the people dislike the video and 10 people will like the video, she realized that this is the kind of piece of content I shouldn't supposed to be post on YouTube or on social media platform. So she will not gonna post such a video. She will gonna post something very different video. She will gonna post something that ki less nudity or things like that, which will stop the nudity. Which will stop the nudity at somewhat, like not stop, but minimize the nudity. We actually kind of do this thing by minimize the nudity. Okay, one thing. Okay, another thing, like let's talk another, like let's just say there is a guy who is actually talking about that ki like Nazi people, German people killed the thousands of Jewish people and things and that. He was kind of like telling this thing that Israel is not really good and things. Sorry, he was kind of like telling this German people are not really good and things and that. A lot of really hate speeches. Okay, yeah. In 2025, by the way, World War actually happened almost like a 1940 or yeah, like almost like a 60, 70, 80 years ago. Okay, yeah. So basically, is this thing na ki yeah, in that particular period of time, Nazi people or German people kill the Israeli people. That is true. Yeah, but in today's world, German people are not really that bad. They are really good people too. Okay, yeah, but because of this person, because of this content creator, is kind of like a creating this piece of content that key, it kind of like a creates a danger. It kind of like creates a hate inside of us. Like basically this is what like he was kind of like saying this thing na ki the Nazi people is kind of like a German people kill this thing and that, and suddenly if I am not Jewish, I was kind of like angry towards the German people, even if angry, even if the German people didn't really did anything at all. They kind of like did in the past, but in today's world they are really good people. Okay, yeah, but we are kind of like lean towards kind of like a very negativity towards the German. Okay, yeah, and that is really not good. So when I watch this video, I kind of like I'm kind of like there is almost like 100 out of maybe kind of like assembly 10 people might gonna agree, but 90 people will not gonna agree because this actually happened in the past. Okay, in today's world German is not really that much stuff. So what would I do? I would dislike that video because of it's really fun to do that. Okay, yeah, it's kind of like I dislike that video. So when I dislike that video, same thing happened. 100 out of almost like 80 people will kind of like dislike the video, 20 people will gonna like the video. So the creator who kind of like realized that no, this piece of content is not gonna work. Okay, yeah, so I have to be kind of like do very differently. Okay, yeah. Now this is second example. Now let's take a third example. Okay, in this third example, there is a video regarding about a person who kind of like went to traveling. He was kind of like the video is about kind of like simply the way that he experienced in the traveling, like the way he went to kind of like a paragliding, parachutes, or maybe kind of like simply lot of fun activity he did in the kind of like a particular nature event and things like that. And way that he executed was really good, really great. Okay, with kind of like a background music and stuff like that. You watch that video, you really love that video. The way that he kind of like make the video and way that he experienced his experience, his traveling experience in this video is in this particular short form video, you really love it. Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing, there is nothing really a point that we should supposed to say that is wrong. Okay, there is might be some sort of wrong, like maybe the camera position is not really wrong or things or that. We might kind of like say this, bro, change your kind of a camera angle or change your composition, maybe something like that. But most of people are not really that filmmaking nerds and stuff like that. So people will gonna some say this thing, okay, that's really beautiful. So basically people will gonna kind of like that video. They're gonna swipe right. Okay, when they will gonna swipe right, basically the 100 out of almost like 80 people will gonna like the video, 20 people will gonna dislike the video regarding about this and that. Okay, now because of 80 people like that particular video, that travel video, creator are encouraged more. He realized that dude, this piece of content is actually work. Okay, yeah, people will like the video. So basically he would create more and more video. Okay, now like this is the story number 1. Okay, yeah, now let's talk about the story number 2. Story number 2, what will gonna happen after that? Okay, yeah, when we are kind of like doing this thing, let's just say there are almost like millions of people are kind of like doing this particular process, like there is a kind of like things. So because of this swiping left and right and things like that, we actually filtered out which piece of content is right, which piece of content is wrong. Okay, yeah, now let me tell you one thing. Right and wrong is kind of like defined very differently. Okay, yeah, like if I'm gonna say that the Nazi people kill almost like thousands of Jewish people in the past history, okay, I would kind of like a dislike that, because German people are not really that. Okay, he was kind of like a spreading that hate speeches and things like that. Okay, yeah. So I would kind of like a dislike that video. Okay, yeah. But other people will gonna kind of like convince him. Other people will gonna say, no, this is true. Okay, yeah, German people are really wrong. They did something really wrong and things and that. They will kind of like that video and things like that. Okay, yeah. Now, what exactly happened? What I'm trying to tell you? Okay, yeah. We are humans. Okay, yeah. And we understand consequences regarding about our choices, regarding about our influence. Okay, what exactly is this thing? When some people saying something not good, okay, let's just say that particular person, the way that he execute his content was really good, but the way that he say is completely wrong, completely not good. Okay, yeah. So because of most of people are kind of like dislike that video and things like that. Okay, yeah. Because of dislike video, 100 out of 80 people will kind of like somebody dislike that video. So probably is this thing that creator will not gonna make that video. So when the creator will not gonna make that video, the algorithm will understand that key hate speeches and things, a toxic video is not working in the social media platform. So algorithm will understand that, and algorithm will kind of like showing such a piece of content that you really love it. Okay, like the travel video or any kind of video that you, okay, yeah. So in this particular process, that toxic video is kind of like eliminate automatically from social media platform. Okay, and basically because of this thing, we will gonna stop this particular stuff. Because of this thing, we will stop the nudity. We will gonna stop the kind of like something the toxic video. We will gonna stop things. But by changing this mechanism, instead of pressing the like button and dislike button, we change the kind of like a like. We kind of like a swipe left and swipe right. Okay. There is also another thing. Okay, yeah. A vertical video is not really good video. Okay, like basically I suggest you not to watch any vertical video, because vertical video are very short span of video. In this short span of video, you will not gonna get any kind of knowledge. Okay, yeah, you just wasting your time in this. Like when you are watch kind of any kind of like a reel or things like that and that. By the way, I also make the short form video too. Okay, yeah. And that is true, because you will not gonna get any kind of like some value, like basically when you watch my video kind of like a things, it might gonna get some sort of value, but still it is thing that key you will not get entire value. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing: the knowledge, the value that you get when you spend time. Okay, yeah, that is only one thing. Okay, when you spend time, you will get the value in some certain way, like a knowledge or information or things like that. Okay, when you're not spending time and you just scrolling through this reel and things like that, you just spending time, you are not getting any value. Okay, yeah. So what exactly is this thing? My main purpose is that keep people will not to watch that much short form content. Okay, yeah. So what I have to do? Should I kind of like ban that short form of content? No, I shouldn't supposed to do that. What I have to do is that I just have to change the kind of a little bit gesture. Gesture means what? Like basically, if I wanted to skip the next video, I just have to kind of like simply swipe from bottom to top, right? Bottom to top. Okay, yeah. But in this particular mechanism, we just have to kind of like do this thing, like very simple. Like just kind of like just swipe up, very delightfully. Okay, and the next video will pop up. Okay, yeah. But what if we kind of like create a mechanism that if you wanted to watch the next video, you just have to swipe from bottom to up, fully up. Okay, yeah. Then and only then next video will pop. Okay, yeah. So when this thing actually happened, it is kind of like a very much difficult to kind of like a went to next video. Very much difficult to went to next video. Okay, yeah. So when it is kind of like a very much difficult to next video, people often might gonna watch not that much video. Because let me tell you one thing, when you watch kind of like some little short form of content, okay, yeah, you are very lazy to watch short form of content. You don't want to move your finger all the way to up. Okay, yeah, which kind of like add limitation to watch that short form of video. And when we do that, we drastically save lot of amount of time to not to watch that short form of video. So indirectly, we will not gonna watch that much short form of video. I'm not gonna say ban. I'm just kind of like changing just a gesture, just like and dislike, and just kind of like a move towards up to kind of like a move to next video. And when you do that thing, when you apply these 3 steps, like, dislike, and just move towards up, okay, yeah, you kind of like something eliminate all the toxic video, all the kind of like a vertical video. Like basically people will gonna watch so much long form video instead of short form video. Okay, because watching short form video, it kind of like a be more difficult to do that thing. Okay, make it more difficult to watch short form of video. And when you apply that particular stuff, it is kind of like a really good. We kind of like eliminate all the toxic video, we eliminate all the nudity, we will eliminate everything. Not eliminate, we will minimize, we will not gonna eliminate anything at all. Okay, yeah, toxic video still gonna exist. Okay, yeah, nudity will still gonna exist because we are human. Okay, yeah, if I don't really like it, other people like it that too. Okay, yeah, and we are kind of like a very much different person. Okay, what I'm trying to tell you, because of this process, because of this method, we are actually minimizing it. We are actually minimize that particular process, and which leads to right world. Like basically it's the same, people will not gonna create that much stress, not that harm or things and that. And social media became more like a showing that much empathy instead of kind of like something danger, or instead of kind of like something division or things like that. But still, okay, yeah, if I'm gonna do that thing, the social media company will not gonna do that thing. Why? Because social media company wants to people to spend more and more time in their platform, and they are kind of like using this mechanism to make the process so smooth and so things that people just suck into it that and just not leave behind. Like what exactly happened? Like how much kind of like only social media is actually earning money? Like when you are watch a video, okay, yeah, when you kind of like any kind of like a video watch you, it kind of like shows the advertisement. No, basically they are kind of like showing the advertisement to you. You don't really get any kind of like a money, but advertisement is paid money to the social media platform. Okay, yeah. So social media is actually earn so much amount of money when you spend so much amount of time on social media. Okay, yeah. And short form of content is that particular piece of content that kind of like something social media earns so much amount of money. Okay, because people spend so much amount of time on watching social media. Okay, yeah. So because of this thing, because of that stuff, okay, yeah, social media never will do this thing because it will gonna hamper their business and things like that. Okay, yeah. So how do we supposed to kind of like utilize this technique? How do we supposed to implement that mechanism? Because in the end, social media have to do that thing. So how does we supposed to do that? We can do that thing by kind of like somebody by government. Like basically, if the government is kind of like somebody say to the social media company that if you wanted to run your business in my country, then you have to follow this protocol. Okay, yeah, you have to apply this gesture, right and left, and swipe till to the up to next video. If you apply this kind of like a particular mechanism, if you apply this kind of like a gesture on your social media platform, specifically in short form of content, then and only then you can do business in our country. Okay, yeah. If I do that thing, then companies are kind of like become very forceful. Okay, because let me tell you a thing. Let's just say I am a kind of like the person who is the Information and Broadcast Minister of India. Okay, yeah. Now what I'm trying to tell you is this thing. I kind of like forcefully tell to the kind of like company that you have to apply this protocol for kind of like do a business in our India. Okay, yeah. If you do that, welcome. If you do not, just fuck off. Okay, yeah. Then social media company are kind of like say that no, Indian market is very huge, very big, and we are earning so much amount of money, so we just have to apply this protocol. So yeah, like this guideline is not comes from the social media company. Social media company will not gonna follow this guideline, but the government can kind of like make them forced to apply this guideline. Okay. So basically, if the one country is actually let them forced to do that thing, then other countries will gonna let them do that thing, and social media will kind of like somebody implement that mechanism into their platform, right? So yeah, but how does people can do that thing? Like basically, you and me, we are the very normal people. How does we can do that thing? Well, we cannot stop. Accept this reality, we cannot do anything at all. Social media is a very big company. Okay, yeah, very big people actually running and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, we are not the part of the government, but there is one thing is that we can change our kind of like YouTube history. We could change our kind of like a social media consumption. Okay, by kind of like a put the kind of like a somebody change some sort of setting like a sensitive content drop, like a limit this is sensitive content, or kind of like a somebody restrict some of the content or things like that, so that we would kind of like a stop that thing. But the ultimate answer or ultimate kind of like a solution, it comes from the government. And then and only then social media will kind of like share so much empathy more than kind of like some danger or division. All right, this is it. I should supposed to be end here. And also the information that I'm trying to tell you is not exactly right or is not exactly wrong. It is just my opinion. All right, thank you.